KScript editor, created by Nils Liberg, is a free editor with an integrated compiler for Kontakt scripts that is more powerful than Kontakt's built-in editor. In today's video tutorial, we'll go over the features and how to edit scripts with the KScript editor. And never miss a tutorial by subscribing to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/ADSR Some of the major features of the KScript editor are syntax highlighting, auto indentation, autocomplete, and a tab interface, to name a few. Let's take a look at these and more. So one of the first features of the KScript editor is that code is highlighted. So syntax that is in KSP, which is a Kontakt scripting processor, is highlighted. So for instance, on init is highlighted. A function like declare variable name. And I'm not sure if you can see that declare is highlighted, but it actually is. I actually zoomed my text in, which is another feature. So maybe that might look a little brighter. Okay, so and that didn't fix anything. So I hope you can see that declare is highlighted blue. One of the next feature is that code can be indented or dedented with a key press. So you can highlight a line or select a line and hit the tab, and that will indent the line. If you use Shift Tab, it will undo that. Also, code can be automatically indented by hitting Control or Command I. There you go. So it automatically, if I had more lines, you would see it would actually do all the lines, but in this case, the one line that's here, it automatically indented it. If you press F5, which on a Mac you'll have to use your function if you have the default key set up, function F5 will compile the code. If you're on a PC, just F5, and this lets you also declare and use the user-defined functions, and also allows you to organize variables into families. We'll talk about this a little later. Also, if you compile the code and there's no errors, I'm going to compile it now. Oops, there is an error. I forgot to do something. Far. There it is, a successful compile. Also, when you compile, the code is put into the clipboard where it can be pasted into Kontakt. So if I go into Kontakt over here and just hit Control V, you'll see that the code is there. Also, if there is an error, I'm going to add another line here. Just going to put a space there. If there is an error and you hit compile, actually, that's not an error. There you go. So if you compile and you have an error, the editor will move the cursor to the right place, the right line, so that you can fix it. So in this case, you can't use a dash when you're declaring a variable. Another feature that the KScript editor has is called extended syntax, and you enable extended syntax by turning extra syntax checks on. This is how you enable extended syntax, and we'll talk a lot more about that a little later. Another cool thing that the KScript editor does is if you press F10, it will export your script to syntax highlighted HTML and automatically open the page in your browser for previewing. Another feature is code completion. If you are typing a code and you press Control and space, it will fill in the rest of the word. So in .NET, this is called autocomplete. Another feature is called call tips. So For any function, if you press Control Shift Space, this will show the documentation for the function being called. So I'm not sure if that's working. Let me double check. Control Shift Space. So this might not be working in the version that I have. I'm on 1.5.1, so this might only be available in 1.5.2. But it is a function in that version, but it's just not working on mine. Another option is, another feature is parentheses matching. So if you are doing a function, let's find, so I added add menu item. So what this does is if you type a parentheses, it'll highlight the other parentheses, allowing you to see where it ends. So this is very hard to see on this, but the parentheses are now highlighted with a light purplish, light blue kind of color. So that's what this feature does. Another feature is go to line. If you hit Command G, you can type in the line to go to, and the cursor will go there. Let me move this over so you can see. Do it again so you can see. Go to line 2, and cursor is on line 2. Another feature is the ability to switch between fixed width fonts and variable width fonts. So you will change that in your settings. Use fixed width font. Another feature is the ability to choose the number of spaces of indentation and an option to re-indent the whole script when you change the setting. So if you go to settings and go to indentation width, this is how you set the width of indentation. Another feature is unlimited undo and unlimited redo. So as long as the KScript editor is running, it will record a history of all your changes. So you have unlimited undo and unlimited redo. Another feature is compiler can optionally output compacted code. So this reduces the size of the script to about 50%. And the reason for this feature was to help deal with the K2 bug that causes slowdowns for large scripts. So if you're using a very large script and you're still on Kontakt 2, and if you are, you really need to go kill yourself. You should be using Kontakt 5. Actually, I take that back. Don't go kill yourself. Go slap yourself. You can turn this on, and this will reduce the size of code. So you do that in the settings. So you'll enable compact output. In the case of Kontakt 5, you definitely, or actually Kontakt 3, 4, and 5. There's no need for this because that bug has been resolved. Another feature is endlines can optionally be automatically added, and there's support for automatic indentation of pasted code. So what that does is that adds end lines automatically, and if you paste code, it would automatically indent the code as well. Not sure why that's a part of that feature, because it seems like the other indentation features handle the automatic indentation of pasted code, but according to the author, Nils, this is what this supports. And so if you type something like on UI control and hit enter, it automatically writes end on. Magic. So this is the navigation panel. This lets you jump quickly to any callback or function. So I can click on init. It'll go to the on init block. If I click on UI control, it'll go to on IU control. On blah blah blah. On UI control. Another slick feature of this KScript editor is a tabbed interface. So you can actually work on multiple scripts at the same time. And another Adobe Acrobat, really? Okay. Another feature is code folding and improved syntax highlighting. So code folding is off by default, but I've turned it on. So folding here, let's turn it back on. So what this does is this allows you to fold blocks of code, and this is a standard feature in any IDE. So this allows you to fold blocks of code. And so when you're working on large pieces of scripts, this will allow you to, if you're done working on a section, you can close this, which will make reading code a little bit more easier. And the final new feature is integration with task control module. This makes it possible to use parameters and return values for functions invoked using call, and it also makes functions reentrant. Now the basic functions, whether they're user defined functions, don't support parameters or return values. So this allows the task control module is an additional feature that allows you to have return values and use parameters in your user defined functions. Unfortunately, this is a more advanced topic, so we won't cover that in today's tutorial, but we'll definitely get back to this. So let's take a look at the interface. So you have your toolbar at the top, standard toolbar for any application. The file has your file operations, new, open, close, save. It also shows the last few scripts that you worked on. Also quit. The edit tab, which has your standard editing options: undo, redo, cut, copy, paste, find, replace, indent, dedent, how to indent, go to line, select all, special characters. The script menu option has the functions to compile, recompile the last script. So compile will compile the current script that you're working on. Recompile will recompile the last script that you worked on, and this can be the last open or last close script. View as HTML will save it as an HTML file and open up your browser to see it in the browser. And uncompressed compiled code, if you have compacted code, this is how you would uncompact it. The settings menu item has all your settings. Fixed with font, self-explanatory. Use anti-aliasing, self-explanatory. Automatically indent pasted code. I think this is a important option to turn on. I don't know why it's off here. And what this does is if you copy code from your web browser or from some other document, when you paste it into the editor, the indents might be off. What this does is it parses the code and automatically automatically indent it based on your indentation settings. Automatically end new code blocks. We saw that automatically adds the end of a code block. Hide single tab. What this does is if you are using only one tab, it will get rid of this tab header that you see here. View indentation guides will show indentation guides on the screen, so that you can kind of get a visual onto where the indentation will occur. Folding turns on code block folding, which we saw earlier. Advanced syntax highlighting will do your basic syntax highlighting and then more. It covers all of the built-in KSP stuff and also the extended syntax. Your indentation width sets the indentation width. Use old compiler version. I don't see why you would ever want to use this. This uses an old engine that works for Kontakt 2 and above. This is basically when the KSP engine went through its major change. Unless you're having problems compiling for Kontakt 2, which there's really no reason that you would be coding for Kontakt 2 at this time, try using an old compiler version. Compact output will shrink the code by 50% by doing various things, such as obfuscating variables and removing extra tabs and removing extra spaces. It basically shrinks your output by doing a variation of things to make the script actually smaller. For Kontakt 5, like I said, there is no reason to do that. Compact variables is an option that's forced on by default, and it makes sense. Variables are, if you want the name to stay the same, you can use the pragma directive, which we'll talk about shortly. But basically, compact variables will take your variable names and translate it into a more efficient variable name. Extra syntax checks, I call it ESC, turns on the extended syntax. Signal error on empty if and case statements. If you have a if statement or a case statement that is empty, the KScript editor will notify you. Optimize compiled code. This will optimize your code. I'm not sure specifically what it does to optimize it, but turning this on will optimize your code. You would have to play with it to actually see, how efficient the optimization is. But Nils is a very, very, very smart guy. So if he insists that this will optimize the code, I believe it. Use automatic workaround for call bug. I'm not sure what this does. This was not anywhere in the help guide, and I'm not aware of what the call bug is, so I really can't tell you what this option does, but it is turned on by default. Insert comments when expanding functions. So if you have a function and you expand it, this will insert a comment in the function. And the text options allow you to shrink or increase the size of the text. And your view allows you to hide and display some of the panes that you see here. So you can view your callbacks and functions navigation pane, the KSP reference pane, and you have your default perspective. And the help doesn't have anything in it. All it does is takes you to Nils' website, where there's a little bit more information about scripting. Not too much information on this actual application, but more information about scripting. Okay, so that was the toolbar. So next you have the main window. This is pretty straightforward. This is the main window where all your code goes, and it has the code and also the line numbers for the code. On the left hand side, you have your callbacks and functions navigation pane, which allows you to navigate your code by clicking on functions and callbacks. And on the right hand side, you have a reference guide, which will show you all of the basically a reference guide for KSP. The cool thing is you can click on it and it'll give you additional information on what that function does. And it would be nice if it had an example of how to use it, but for now it only has how you would invoke it. And the other cool thing is if you double click on it, it will actually insert it where your cursor is. Nice. Okay, so that is it for the user interface. Now, let's take a look at how you would use this. So, as you know, Kontakt scripts start with the callback on init. You can type it by hand, or you can just double click on the on init in the KSP reference, which will add it. It's kind of annoying that it doesn't expand it, and you actually have to come here and do this, but you could always use the automatically indent, I guess, to fix it. But yeah, so start off with on indent. Next you can do something like declare a variable. And remember, with ESC turned on, you don't have to declare a variable. We'll talk a little bit about that when we talk about extended script. You don't have to declare a variable using the character. You can just say the variable name. So I'll just say var int for integer. And if I compile this, I can compile that, and what it does is it copies it to the clipboard as long as it's okay. And then I can actually come into Kontakt and paste it. There you go. So that is how you use the script editor. All right, so on to the extended script syntax. Okay, so when you activate extra syntax checks, you can use an extended script language syntax, which makes it easier to write and maintain scripts. When you compile successfully, the extended syntax is translated to regular KSP syntax and placed on a clipboard. This can be then pasted into the Kontakt script editor. So let's take a look at what all you get with ESC. So the first thing is, which I talked about a little bit earlier, is that variable prefixes are optional. So typically variables must be prefixed with the characters $, percent, at, which I don't even know what the correct name of that is, but you know, djnice@gmail.com, that's the symbol that I'm referring to. And finally, the exclamation point. Okay, so when you turn ESC on, you don't have to put those characters in front of any variables unless it's a string or a string array. So those specific variables still require the prefix, just because they're special variables in Kontakt. But once you do declare the variables, you don't have to use a prefix anymore to reference them. So let's take a look at how you can use the variables without using the characters. So I'm gonna declare x. I'm going to set it equal to 10. So that's a variable. Going to declare an array. That's another one. Didn't have to use a prefix there. And I'm going to declare a string. So because this is a string, I definitely have to reference it or prefix it with the character. And I am going to set the name to something. Boom. So I'm going to go ahead and compile this. All right. And I'm going to paste it into Kontakt, and you'll see that it has been translated into Kontakt talk. So you see that my X has a prefix in there, my list has a prefix in there, and my name has a prefix in there. So you can see the translation happens on the fly, and although you don't see it, it is on the page, the version that is sent to the clipboard.